Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Saad and welcome to Saad Classes. In this video, we are going to see how the refraction takes place at the curved spherical convex lens when the light goes from rare medium into a denser medium. In the part 1 of this video, I am going to cover this topic. In my part 2, we will see what will be the formula or what will be the change in the formula when the light goes from a denser medium into a rare medium, which is the second part of this video. Part 1 and part 2 of the video combined together will be used in the lens maker formula, which will be my third video of this series. So the main goal is to drive the lens maker formula. So before starting that video, so the part 1 and part 2 are most important because these formulas will be used directly in the lens maker formula. So I have also time stamped this video. If you want to skip to any part, so you can click on the time stamp and you will be there. So before starting the video, please subscribe the channel so that you can get my latest videos. Share it with your friends and give it a thumbs up if you like it. So let's get started. This video I have break it into two parts. The first part I will show you the diagram, the ray diagram, which I am going to construct with the help of animation and it will be very helpful for you to understand. You can take your pencil and pen with you, just draw it step by step to get the feel of it. And in the next part of this video, I am going to drive the formula. Before proceeding to those assumptions, let's see what are those assumptions. So that sphere is very small. The third and the most important assumption is that all the rays are paraxial rays. That means they are almost parallel to the principal axis. If they are almost parallel, that means the angle formed by them are very small, which we are going to see in the ray diagram which I am going to construct. Now let's start with the construction of the ray diagram. I have taken a denser medium, which in my case is a glass, and surrounding my glass is the air, which is a rare medium having a refractive index mu1. The refractive index of my glass is mu2. This is the assumption I have taken. I will draw an imaginary line, a dotted line, which is imaginary line called principal axis, which is passed through center of curvature, and I labeled this point as P A B. AB is my aperture, which is the width of the spherical lens, and the P point is my optical center I have considered, and this point C is my center of curvature, or you can say the center from which this sphere is made. So the PC will be the radius, you can say. Now I have drawn one imaginary line again, so let this line call a normal, and it is cutting the surface at point N. Now at point O, I kept my point object, so I have labeled it with O, and this object is a point size object. A ray of light went from this object and hit at N. Now when there is no surface, when there is no denser surface involved, so this ray of light will go straight, because if there is no surface but the surfaces are changed, the light is going from a rare to a denser medium, that means it will deflect. Okay, so we know that if a light goes from a rare to a denser medium, it bends towards the normal. Let me call this angle as I, angle of incidence, and the light will bend towards the normal. You can see the light, instead of going straight, it bends towards the normal, and this angle is angle of refraction. So the light is hitting my principal axis here, but to construct an image, we know we need minimum two rays. So the second ray will be emitted by object again, and in this case it will be a straight line passing through optical center. We know that if any light ray passing through optical center, it went straight, it won't undergo any deflection, so it went straight along the principal axis, and both these rays are cut after refraction. Mind my word, both these rays after refraction are cutting at this point, and the image is formed here. So let me mark this point as I. We are seeing through. Now I will give some nomenclature in this diagram which will be helpful in my derivation. Let me call this angle NOC as angle alpha. Angle NIC, I will call it as angle beta. Angle NCP, let it be angle gamma. I will draw one perpendicular line. This is another construction that I have to consider. I will draw a perpendicular line from N on my principal axis, which is meeting at point M. Another thing which I have to consider is the nomenclature of these three things. So R, as I told you earlier, is my radius of curvature, the distance between P and C, because it is a radius of this curve. That means I have taken it with R. The object distance U, we know that the object distance are measured from the optical center, which is in my case is point P, so I have labeled it with small u, and the image distance is V, small v, which is from P to I. These things which we have to consider in my derivation. So before starting the derivation, I have to consider two triangles. I am just highlighting those two triangles. So the first triangle I have highlighted is triangle NOC. We are going to use this triangle, and the second triangle which we are going to use is this triangle NIC. So these are the two triangles, and with the help of these two triangles we will form the derivation of this. So let's move on to the derivation part. In front of me is the ray diagram. Before jumping onto the ray diagram in the derivation, first I want to clear a basic thing about the Cartesian coordinates. So how am I going to measure the distances? Okay, so from this point P, I will measure all my distances. If I make a coordinate system, you can see this is my coordinate system, and all the distance I am going to measure from this point P. Now for example, the first point I will, all the distances will be measured from pole position P, standing at this point. So if I am going to measure my distance, मैं यहाँ से measure करना शुरू नहीं करूँगा, but I will start measuring from P. ठीक है, मैं P को 0 मानूंगा और अपना measure करूँगा इधर. For example, so I am on the left hand side of the system. So I will measure, the first thing is I will measure all the distances from P. So just take care of this point in mind. The next thing which you have to see in the new Cartesian system is this. One more distance, measure distance in the direction of incident ray. Incident ray must be positive. Distance measured in the direction opposite of incident ray must be negative. So let me explain you these points quickly. So for example, this is my Cartesian system I have drawn, and this is my P point. All the distance are measured from P. For example, if my object is at this point, if my object is this point O, and if my image is formed at this point I, and my ray is going in this direction, the direction of my incident ray is this. Look at the arrow. Now for this thing, I measured all the distance from P. So if I measure from P, so I will start in this direction. Now my red line is opposite to the incident ray. Can you see? These two rays are in opposite direction. So this means I have to measure this distance as negative. Okay. So this means this distance OP must be negative. Now the distance PI, if I start measuring from P, the distance PI is this distance. Now this arrow, the red arrow and yellow arrow are in the same direction. So this distance must be taken as positive. So this means in the same direction I have to take positive. In the opposite direction, starting from P, I have to measure the distance negative. So just keep this thing in mind. So let's start our derivation. Before starting the derivation, let me show you the triangles again, which I will be taking. So this triangle I will be taking. Now in this triangle, if I extend this line, so angle I will consider as an exterior angle. It will be sum of these two interior angles, the opposite interior angles, that is angle alpha plus angle gamma. So I can write it as angle I is equal to angle alpha plus angle gamma. Let me call you as equation number 1. Now another equation which I want to show you is this triangle. If you look in this triangle NIC, this triangle NIC, this is the ray. If I extend this ray, so angle gamma is the exterior angle, which is the sum of angle R and angle beta. So just write down that angle gamma will be equal to angle R plus angle beta. So let me find out the value of R from this equation, which will be equal to angle R will be equal to angle gamma minus angle beta. So let me call you this equation number 2. So just keep in mind this equation we are going to use later, where we substitute the value of I and R. Now let's move ahead. Now I will find the value of these three angles, that is angle alpha, beta and gamma. I have already told you in the starting that all these rays are paraxial rays, means these angles alpha, gamma and beta, I and R are very small. These angles are very small. So I will make the assumptions based upon triangle NOM. Look at this triangle NOM. I can write tan alpha will be nearly equal to alpha, because angle alpha is very small, so I can assume it to be just equal to alpha, and it will equal to perpendicular upon base. This means NM upon OM. Now students, this distance, if you can see, OM and OP, this distance will be nearly equal because I can ignore this distance. This is a very small distance. In the figure it is looking a bit bigger, but in reality, if these angles are small, this distance I can neglect. So in place of OM, in place of OM, I can write it as OM will be approximately equal to OP. So this is the thing you have to take care in mind, because these distances are very small. And why I am doing this, why I am making it, because I have to measure every distance from this point P. So जो भी हम चीज measure करेंगे, so every distance which we are going to measure is from this pole position. So that's why I am removing this M thing. So in place of the NM will remain as it is, and in place of OM I will write OP. So this same thing you have to do while finding angle beta and gamma also. So now tan beta will be nearly equal to angle beta. And if you find in triangle NMI, perpendicular upon base is NM and base is IM. Now again I can write again that IM will be nearly equal to IP because of the same assumption. So in place of NM, in place of IM, I will write IP. Now I will take the third angle, which is the angle gamma. So tan gamma will be approximately equal to gamma. So if you can see in the triangle NMC, the perpendicular is NM and base is CM. Now my CM will be approximately equal to CP. The same assumption. So NM I will write as it is, and in place of CM I will write down CP. So I have find the values of alpha, beta and gamma. So these values I will substitute in the above equation. So before this, let me use another rule that we already studied, that is Snell's law. Studied about Snell's law. So if a ray goes from a rare to a denser medium or denser to a rare medium, it changes its path or the angle of incident and angle of I. So we have studied that sine of angle I upon sine of angle R is equal to mu2 upon mu1, जहां रेस जा रही है और mu1 जहां से रे आ रही है. So this I will write it as. So if I cross multiply, I will write it will be mu1 into sine I will be equal to mu2 into sine R. Since these angles are also small, so I will take this assumption that sine I is approximately equal to I and sine R is approximately equal to angle R. So our formula will become, in place of sine I can write mu1 into I. In place of sine I can write I. In place of sine R, I can write only R. So this thing, let me call this as equation number 3. Find the value of, now, so this is the equation that I get. I will substitute the value of I and R from our above equation number 1 and 2. Angle R and angle I have already calculated. So mu1 will be multiplied by angle I will be angle alpha plus angle gamma equal to mu2 multiplied by a value of angle R is angle gamma minus angle beta. Again, what I have to do, I have to substitute the value of alpha, gamma and beta from our equations. So this equation, in place of alpha, beta, gamma, I can replace it with nm upon OP, nm upon IP and nm upon CP. So let's replace these values. So we will get mu1 into, in place of alpha I can write OP, nm upon OP plus in place of gamma I can write nm upon CP equal to mu2. In place of gamma you can write nm upon CP minus, in place of beta you can write nm upon PI, nm upon IP or PI, you can let IP. So this value, I will take nm common from both sides and it will be cancelled out. So I will be left with this equation, mu1 into 1 upon OP plus 1 upon CP will be equal to mu2 into 1 upon CP minus 1 upon IP. Now open the bracket, multiply it with mu1 and mu2, so it will be mu1 upon OP plus mu1 upon CP equal to mu2 upon CP minus mu2 upon IP. Now what I will do? I will bring these same terms with denominator on one side and mu1 and mu2, IP and OP term on another side. It will be mu1 upon OP minus mu2 upon IP will be equal to mu2 upon CP minus mu1 upon CP. So this thing we have got. Now let me show you how we are going to put the values of OP, IP, CP, and so these three values how I am going to replace. Now I have already told you all the distance will be measured from pole. So the distance measured from pole. Now I have to measure from pole the distance OP. So it is U and the incidence light is going in this direction and I am measuring a distance in this direction. So they are in opposite direction. So this means the distance OP will be equal to negative U because it is in the opposite direction of the incident ray. Okay. Now distance, if you see the distance PC or CP, these are in the same direction. The incidence light is in the same direction and I am measuring from pole. So these distance will be positive. Same with PI. The distance PI will be measured from pole and it is in the same direction as of the incident ray. So both these rays will be, so both these distances will be positive. So therefore my distance CP will be plus R and my distance IP will be plus V. So I will substitute these values in this equation and we will get the equation which we want. So it will be mu1 in place of OP I will write minus U minus mu2 in place of IP I will write down V equal to mu2 CP is R minus mu1 CP is again R. So if you just rearrange the terms you will get mu2 upon V, it will be plus here, it will be plus here, it's a correction, plus here. So it will be plus, it will become minus, it will become minus mu1 upon U equal to mu2 minus mu1 upon the LCM will be R. So this equation you will get. Now one more assumption I will make. If my rare medium which is mu1 is air, so this means the refractive index I can take nearly equal to 1. If the mu1 is air, my rare medium is air. If my mu2 is glass, so let mu2 is equal to mu, let it be any medium glass. So now replace mu1 with 1 and mu2 with mu. So you will get mu upon V minus 1 upon U equal to mu minus 1 upon R. This is the final equation which come out, which establishing the relation between the refractive index U, V and R. So this equation we are going to use in the lens maker formula directly, whose links I have also given in the description box. To go to the lens maker formula, I just click on this I button on top. Also there is a part 2 of this video in which I have shown when the ray of light goes from denser medium to rare medium. So those two formulas are very important and we will combine those two formulas in the lens maker formula video. If you like the video, please share with your friend and give you the thumbs up and please send your comments in the comment box. Thanks for watching Saath Classes.